for clicking on the video. My name is Leah, and let's recap and review Real Housewives of Beverly Hills. This is season 13, part 1 of the reunion. Now, I'm going to be speaking like this. I'm still getting over my cold, and I try to raise my voice, but it always cracks and it starts to hurt my throat in the long run. So I apologize if this is low, but I can't talk any louder, y'all. I can't. But let's get into this review. Get into it, you guys. We're going to get a little spicy and we're going to talk about a few things that I saw as it pertains to the reunion and to Beverly Hills. So first up, let's talk about Miss Annemarie. So Annemarie and I guess Crystal did not squash whatever they was trying to squash at the reunion. But Annemarie took to her Instagram and she made this post that Crystal ended up liking, which I think is funny. But it goes like this. Keys to a clear conscience. Do not misrepresent the truth about someone else's character, career, or integrity to give yourself a storyline, especially when you have a well-documented history of being dishonest. Do not stab someone. Do not backstab someone, then admit it off camera that you lied about them for a storyline, then cry on their shoulder behind closed doors about keeping up the lie, and then fighting and stressing you out and causing your blood pressure to elevate, then extend an olive branch on camera only to let it go and backstab them once again. Do not repeatedly disrespect and diminish a healthcare worker's profession or anyone's for that matter, especially after they advocated to get you to the hospital, helped you when no one else wanted to. Healthcare workers dedicate their lives to helping others. Nurses are imperative. Find your voice, but do so by building yourself up, not having to try to tear the same person down continuously. Always be authentically yourself, regardless of who's watching. Do not put on a facade to save your job. And then, like I said, Crystal liked it. So my thing about it is I feel like both Crystal and Annemarie have a weird relationship or a shaky relationship with the truth. Because we've seen them both times on the show not wholeheartedly tell the truth or play semantics with the truth. So I don't really take I'm not taking both of them at their word, but I'm leaning a little more on Anne-Marie's side with the whole part where she says, spoke to me off camera, because Crystal does give that she might act funny or differently off camera, because it still was weird to me when Annemarie did her like diamonds and Mother's Day brunch, and how Crystal was so quick to tell Annemarie like her medical history, but yet you're telling everyone that this lady lied about being a nurse and saying that she was a doctor. I just find that weird. I'm like, I wouldn't be telling someone I don't trust about their profession, that like about what they do for a living. I wouldn't be telling them my personal history, even if you helped me in Spain when I was going through a tough time. Like, that's your job, lady. Like, being a first responder or a healthcare worker, I don't think it just stops because you're outside of the country. You know what I mean? But I just was like, but I can kind of see that, because I still wonder why Crystal lost them 14 friends. Like, I've always heard the rumor that she told her friends that it was stupid for them to like be on Real Housewives, and then she got on it and everybody felt like that was fake. Crystal gives that, because Crystal gives very much, she wants everyone to like her and she wants to be that girl. So I can see her playing shady games on and off and behind the scenes. So the next thing about Annemarie is she lets us know a lot more about what happened with her mom. So I'm going to play that clip here. She was on the podcast show called The Juicy Scoop with Heather McDonald. So let me play that clip for you guys and then we'll talk about it.
After we started filming, my mother was diagnosed with stage 4 lung cancer. She told me on camera.
Oh my God, I'm so sorry. How is she doing?
She passed 3 months later.
Oh my God, I'm so sorry.
Thank you. So that's what I was actually dealing with while we were filming. My mom's stage 4 lung cancer diagnosis. So, and it was, there was a time when, I talked to Kyle about it a bit because I knew that she'd understand because of her mom.
Yeah.
And then there was a time when I tried to talk to Sutton about it, and she threw it back in my face. And then it was after Sutton did that, she was, she kind of was like, you're just using that as an excuse. And I was like, and that's when I shut down. And I was like, I'm not going to talk to these girls about it anymore because it was so painful.
Yeah.
It was so painful. But that's what I was actually dealing with while we were filming. I don't care about sons of esophagus. Like, I cared about my family, my mother, all the things I was going through. And then when we were in,
So that
shortly
was
after we started.
Annemarie. I wish they would have given her the opportunity to have a fleshed out character. And what I mean by that is, why not show her dealing with the grief of her mom passing away, or the realization that sooner or later her mom will no longer be here because she has lung cancer? Like, I don't like when production does that with anybody. Like, let people have a give people everything, like all the facts, so they can determine whether or not they genuinely dislike somebody. Like, I still don't like Annemarie, but I can sympathize and like understand that she was going through something while filming. It doesn't take away from her behavior, but it gives you a bigger picture of who that person is. And I don't get when they don't share those aspects of people, because at the end of the day, it is a reality show. If that was her reality, that was her reality. I also don't understand her wanting to be like, no, we're not going to film this anymore. It's like you backed yourself into a corner, because now when you're on the reunion, you're talking about how like you've been internalizing the way people have seen you. Well, we only saw that one negative aspect about you. When if you would have showcased the things that you were truly dealing with behind the scenes, then people probably would have given you a lot more grace. Like, I get it, wanting to protect your yourself in that moment, but it's also like you signed up for a reality show, so showcase your reality. Um, Next, let's talk about Crystal and Dorit. So I guess the Crystal let it be known on Jeff Lewis's podcast that Dorit took 2 hours to get ready. And like Cynthia said, just for that part. Although I do think Dorit was best dressed, it was like, girl, that took 2 hours. But we did see that she was having a wardrobe malfunction issue. Well, Dorit didn't like that, and she decided to say her piece online, and this is what she had to say. Because Crystal said that Dorit was doing TikToks while everybody was sitting on the stage waiting for her. And so Dorit was calling Crystal out, and she said this. She said, "What nonsense. Our arrival times were time stamped in the first part of the reunion. Crystal claimed that I was 2 hours late to set because I was doing TikToks is nothing more than a bold-faced lie out of her mouth. The entire cast and crew knew that I had an unfortunate wardrobe malfunction, which with my dress. The small zipper which closed the dress broke, and the brilliant wardrobe team that were hired had no choice but to sew me into the dress, which didn't take anywhere near 2 hours. My TikToks were filmed after the reunion. You can see it was dark outside." And I have the TikTok. I probably can't play it because it's doing the Regina George clip. It's she was basically doing the voiceover of when it was prom. Yeah, was it prom? Yeah, it was prom, and it was after, like, Lindsay Lohan character like breaks the crown, and then everybody says how they really don't like Regina, and Regina is like leaving, and Lindsay Lohan's character is running after her, being like, "Regina, like, this isn't how I wanted it to happen." And Regina was like, "That you didn't want everyone to know, like, wanted me to know that everybody hates me." And then they start arguing and all of that stuff, and then she supposedly gets hit by the bus. But Dorita's saying that none of that happened. Like, it didn't take me that long to get ready. Like, I would have been on set had my dress not messed up, and my TikToks didn't take that long either. Well, Crystal responded by saying this. She said, "Sorry, but no. Those timestamps are wrong. Love you, Bravo. It's not dark at 7:30 a.m. and you didn't leave the trailer at 10:30 and walk 15 steps and it all of a sudden became 11:30. We filmed the first segment without Dorit. That began at 11:45 because Andy was getting restless, as were we. Stop the cap. Just respect our time." Now, like I said, Crystal and Annemarie got a shaky, relationship with the truth. But it's been documented that what's it called? That Dorit be late. So I'm more inclined to believe Crystal, and The truth of the matter is if you know you're going to be a late person, i.e. myself, I normally get ready like 2 hours or an hour before I'm supposed to go somewhere. Like if me and my friends are going to eat at like say like 6:30, I'll start getting ready around like 4:30. Like it gives me at least an hour or 2 hours to get ready. Because I know either I'm not gonna like my hair or my outfit is not going to be what I envision. You know, you allot time. Plus, I also am the type of person to like sit on my bed half naked and be on TikTok scrolling, or like on YouTube looking for a video to get ready to, or reading something on Twitter, or scrolling through Instagram or Facebook. So it's kind of just like I prepare myself for that type of stuff. But I could see Dorit being late. And it did kind of seem that everyone was a little peeved with her, like irritated when she got on stage. And it does seem like they were waiting for her. It really does. Last thing, I'm not going to read the article, but it's from page 6, and I'll put the link in the description bar below. But it says PK steps outside without his wedding ring after Dorit questions their marriage. So I don't know. Maybe next season is going to be that, because Dorit and PK have kind of been hinting throughout this seasons that things have not been going well, and that I know when they did their counseling sessions, PK said in his confessional, you constantly having to be the wrong one where she doesn't take accountability is getting old. That's what he said about Dorit. So I wonder if next season that's going to be Dorit's storyline, is her issues with Kyle, her issues with Garcelle, as well as her issues with PK, and then possibly heading towards divorce the same way Kyle and Mauricio are. But I don't feel like reading it. It's just a picture of him in a hoodie eating with some lady that looks like a friend, to be honest. But I don't think they getting a divorce. But if they do, do what you got to do. Make sure you take care of your kids and live your lives peacefully apart. All right, y'all. So let's talk about the reunion. So it's part 1. We see everybody arriving to the stage. Well, not stage, but arriving to set. So I guess they're trying to do the same thing that they did for Orange County, where it's like an interactive like background, but they have like the stage is supposed to be a lot more realistic. Like they had the fake grass and like the fence and stuff, which I think is cool. And I would love to see what they would do for like Potomac and like New Jersey and Atlanta. Like I feel like they should do this at least one time for everybody, like every cast, because I would love to see it. Like I would love to see like what backgrounds they come up with, because if I'm comparing both of them, I think I like OC's better. Like, because we saw a transition. I don't know if we're going to be able to see that with this, because it's supposed to be like a dinner party, like nighttime vibe kind of thing. So I don't know. But we see everyone get there. We then have this interaction with Erica and Dorit while Dorit is getting ready in her trailer. And pretty much Erica's asking Dorit, like, girl, how are you? Like, how you feeling with everything that's going on with you and Kyle? And Dorit pretty much says, like, girl, my feelings are hurt. Like, I don't like the fact that she tried to say that I exaggerated our friendship. And then she sent me this text message. And shouts out to Bravo, Snark side, because they got screenshots of the text message, and based off of what I read, Dorit's not lying about it being manipulative, because let me just read I'll read the screenshots. Now I'm gonna say they did not do a good job like ending off the conversation, because it was very choppy. But it says this. It says, hey, I've been trying to reach out because I know we are in a weird place and it really bothers me. And it's not even on the show. I wanted to explain where I'm at and why I have been distant, but I have my hands were tied. Of course, some interview comments hurt my feelings and created more issues for me, but I'm used to it. I'm used to that, and can get past that in time. I also reminded myself that you don't know what I was going through with Mo at the time and then they cut it off there. It was a weird cutoff point because the next screenshot they have, it's also cut off weirdly. It says, me off camera that hurt me deeply, and I wasn't even able to say what I heard or from whom. It was one of those things where I wish I just didn't know at all because I wasn't able to share, and yet I was left hurt and couldn't even try to work through it with you. And I know you will be frustrated and want to know what and who said it, but I can't. It's as frustrating to me as it will be to you. Trust me, I have gone through such a hard time to read. I've been in such pain I can't even tell you. Never have I felt so low, and I know you are also going through a hard time. Normally I would have reached out to you, and then it also gets cut off there. And then it's this the next screenshot goes, I've spent 30 years with Mo, 28, and I have no idea how to live without him or how to navigate through life on my own because I have so much on my plate for tomorrow, and I know you do too. I love you, PK, and your kids so much. I've been thinking about you a lot and hoping you aren't struggling too much. I don't want to lose someone else in life over a TV show. They don't even know we are going through a hard time, so I don't see the need to bring it up there. I shouldn't have, no, I should have said something sooner, but I honestly haven't been strong enough. But relationship and you are more important to me than RHOBH. And and I don't feel like bringing it for that at the expense, especially when we have enough battles to handle as it is. Anyway, I would like to sit down and talk after we have lunch tomorrow. Maybe have lunch or dinner when you can. If you want to talk before move tomorrow, I am around. I would give anything not to go, and I no, my bad, y'all. I would give anything not to go and have to do this. I don't know how much longer I can do this show. It's so toxic and creates so much anxiety for me. Anyways, let me know if you want to talk. XX. Girl, that's manipulative. Like, yeah, girl, no. Yeah, no. Dorit been getting on my nerves this season, but when it comes to her and Kyle, I'm totally on Dorit's side because it, like, from the outside looking in, it looks like Dorit has really been trying to be there for Kyle. Like asking her, are you okay? Why don't I know things about you? Trying to understand what her friend may be going through. And at every turn, Kyle has pretty much been like, no, like stopping her or being coy about what's going on. And then to get on Amazon Live, because I saw the clips from that Amazon Live on Twitter, and you basically said that lady was lying about y'all friendship. You basically said that like she was adding 20, like putting 20 on 10, and y'all really weren't that cool or weren't that deep, and y'all only hung out like maybe a handful of times without the cameras and stuff like that. And it's like, if y'all really aren't cool like that, girl, then why are you texting her before the reunion only to save face because you're afraid that Dorit is about to like annihilate you at the reunion? And Dorit is giving very much like, I'm not that girl, I don't move that way type energy. But she was just kind of like, yeah, that's manipulative. And I'm on Dorit's side. That is very manipulative. Okay, girl. So we see everybody get on stage, and Erica. Well, before they get to stage, they're still in the dressing room talking about the text message, and even Erica said that that's manipulative. Like I would have felt manipulated or tried or feeling like you're trying to manipulate me because you sent this right before we were supposed to do the reunion, the day before, trying to make sure you have enough allies on your side. So everyone gets on the stage. They're waiting for Dorit. We actually see them trying to like sew up Dorit's outfit. So she was telling the truth about the wardrobe malfunction. As they're sitting on the stage, Andy asks the question, like the first question that they ask is about Erica and Kyle's relationship. And they bring up when Erica was on Watch What Happens Live with Dr. Nicole about being like Kyle needing to be like eviscerated, like needing to be torn apart the way she was torn apart the past two reunions. And Kyle pretty much said like she didn't really fault Erica because she knew Erica, what Erica meant. She also like says that her relationship with Erica means the world to her, and Erica's been like a great friend to her. So Andy then asked Dorit how does she feel about what was just said, and Dorit pretty much gets straight to it, and she was like, I don't like the fact that Kyle tried to say our friendship was exaggerated. And I find it funny that like she was hurt by the Erica headlines about what Erica said about her getting eviscerated, but I'm supposed to not feel some type of way about you saying that our friendship was exaggerated. So then Kyle's like, well, it is though. Like, we don't do the same things. We don't go hiking. I try to tell you to go hiking. And Dorit's like, you've never asked me to go hiking, Kyle. And I've asked you to take me hiking. And then Kyle's like, well, you're not really athletic. And she was like, when I say go hiking, I don't mean we go hiking for 10 miles. I mean, like, let's go walk for a 2 mile walk, lady. Like, what are you talking about? And then Kyle tries to be like, well, I was hurt at the fact that you said that I replaced you with Morgan when you know how the public's perceiving this. And like Dorit said, all of that was already out there. Like me making comments about it wasn't going to make it any better or make it any worse. Like you and Eric, like the rumors about you and Morgan were already out there. So what are you talking about? And she was like, we've been friends for 7 years. But then Kyle tried to act like their friendship was very surface level. And I'm like, there's no way y'all friendship was surface level when y'all took trips with each other. Like my thing is like, I don't just go on trips with people I don't have a deeper friendship with, or if I'm not trying to get to know them better. Like you just don't be going on trips with people just to be going on trips with people. Like going on trips with people will end friendships because you'll definitely see how some people live. So I didn't agree with that with Kyle. So then she ends up saying, well, Kyle ends up being like, well, you asked about my marriage on camera. Kyle, you be asking about other people's marriages on camera. How many clips have they put up on the line of you asking everybody about their marriages where you and Mauricio were in a good place? And now that y'all not in a good place, all of a sudden it's an issue to ask you about it. Did you ever think it was an issue asking other people about their situations? And then Dorit, which I was shocked that Dorit said, you know what, Kyle, you are a punisher. Like, you punish people. Like when people don't do things you like, you punish them. And even Erica's eyes got big, like, oh, we going there? Like they going there? I said, I guess they really are going there, girl. They going there. Garcelle's segment is up next, and they talk about her sons. We find out that the dad has never had a conversation with the boys about his cheating, and I feel like that's such a cowardly move. Like you cheated, you might as well talk about it. Like it was years ago. Now I think he's married or maybe might have a girlfriend, but that's something I would ask my dad about. Like, so why you cheat on my mama? What was going on? Like what happened? You know what I mean? And then they get on Dorit and Garcelle. They bring up the robbery versus, the laughing of the kids. And here's my thing about that whole entire situation. I feel as though Dorit should have just owned the fact that she misspoke when they were in Vegas. When Garcelle said, I don't feel comfortable talking about my kids around y'all because of the whole laughter situation. And to Garcelle's credit, Dorit made it about her. She was like, we're moms. Okay, so what? If the lady is telling you, I don't feel comfortable talking about my kids around y'all because I saw you guys laughing at my son after this 50-year-old woman cussed at him and made him feel small, then I'm entitled to feel that way. Now, I don't think Garcelle should have brought up the robbery as a way to like give an example, but the point still remains, girl. If we're going to call a thing, the point still remains. Your robbery happened almost 2 or 3 years ago. My son got laughed at a year ago. You're not over your robbery. You still got PTSD. I'm not over y'all laughing at my son. Like, if you can understand that you still are dealing with the ramifications of them people breaking into your house and you're still processing how you feel, then you should have had grace and understanding for Garcelle to understand that she's still processing how she feels and trying to find a place where she's comfortable speaking about her kids with you guys. But you did the thing that a lot of do where you make situations that have happened to other people about yourself. When all you had to say, like Crystal said, where you said you felt hurt, if you would have just been like, man, you know what? It's been a year, and I know it's been a year, but I'm hurt that we haven't shown you of proven ourselves enough to you to know that your kids are okay with us, or talking about your kids with us is okay. That's how you make the, like, you could still make it about yourself, Dorit, but you could have did it in a better way. Like, the way you did it kind of made it seem like her being upset, it was just time for her to move on. Just like a lot of people feel like your whole PTSD thing, it's time for you to move on from that. And is that wrong? Yes, because honestly, we don't know if it's true or not that lady really got robbed. We're all speculating because the story sounds very far fetched and it doesn't seem believable. But weird things have happened. You know, she could have been telling the truth, and I would hate to think that that lady would put her and her kids in harm's way for a TV show. But people have done weird things for shows too. So it's like two things could be the same. But they were going back and forth. They asked about Dorit being an unconscious Karen, and pretty much what Garcelle was saying is like, you seem so unaware of things. Like, you constantly are putting your foot in your mouth. And then they get on the whole bubble situation. Annemarie, I'm not gonna lie, girl, you came off very decisive. Like, very decisive. Like she wanted to speak up about the whole Sutton situation, where Sutton was like, don't yell at me. And I even said in my review, I said, Sutton, she wasn't yelling at you, and check that. That lady was not yelling at you. And I don't even think she was yelling at Sutton. They were all raising their voices, but it didn't seem like Anne-Marie's tone was very aggressive. It was just like, and like Anne-Marie was like, I wasn't yelling. But, excuse me, but when that was happening, I guess Dorit was the only one that checked on Annemarie to see if she was okay. And Garcelle's response was, you're an adult, you were handling yourself just fine. But it the issue that like a lot of people felt, Annemarie, I get what you were trying to do, but when people already kind of feel some type of way about you, the best thing you could have did was just shut up. Like, you didn't need to like co-sign the white lady. That's what it looked like. That's just what it looked like, you know. And I've had situations like that where people have been like, oh, this person is racist, but I've never experienced that with them. But my response is always, they've never been that way to me, but I'm not going to discount your experience because I was not there and I'm not you and I don't know how that felt. You know what I mean? And that's honestly all Annemarie had to say, was being like, I don't think she's that way as the other like black woman on here, but I'm not Garcelle, so I don't know how she feels. The way you did it, it just didn't look right. It didn't look right, Annemarie. It didn't look like a lot of people said, girl. It looked decisive. Like, is it decisive, dismissive? Well, it did look dismissive. No, divisive. I think that's how you say it, divisive. So they talked about Dorit, the bubble comment, where Dorit pretty much doubled down. Dorit tried to say she didn't double down. She was trying to like clean it up where she posted about her kids. And I said, Dorit, no, you double down. Sis, you double down. That's just what it is. You double down. Then Andy ends up saying like two things can be true, and they can be true. It can be true. And then where Dorit feels like, she's fine with living in her bubble, but she also is a woman of the world. But also, it two things, pretty much like you said, two things can be true. And then I did like the fact that Dorit asked Garcelle, "Do you like me? Like, do you like me?" And Garcelle, I feel like, gave a true response. She was like, "Sometimes, but there's definitely something between us." And they were like, "Okay." I just think that I don't think most of the ladies on the cast really like Dorit, if we being honest. I think there's something about Dorit that like a lot of them just don't vibe with or don't see for her. So it is what it is. Then they do a segment about sex talk, and they rehash like Crystal's comment where she said Dorit's never seen anything real on her. No, something about the most real part on Dorit's body, or it's been a long time since Dorit's seen something real on her body. I don't know. Dorit was real upset with that comment. And like Crystal was like, it was just a joke. And Dorit was like, huh. I said, oh. And then they bring up Sutton making out with her driver. Um, And then Kyle, they asked Kyle about the whole scissoring and lesbian comment. And Sutton was like, even if you came out, none of us would care. We would be pretty much accepting of it. Side note, I saw Avi. Avi looked like he done lost some weight. Okay. Sutton, you better be treating Avi right. Because I love me some Avi. Avi seemed like such a cool dude. So then they do Annemarie's segment. And I still don't understand why she ever brought up that her husband called her an 8.5. That man said she was an 8.5 in looks. No, he said she wasn't that attractive. She wasn't that smart. But she was an 8. Girl, I wish any man I was with would ever tell me that. You better be glad I am in your presence. Because what are you talking about, sir? Look at you. And then they were like, what do you think about him? And like Erica said, it better not be anything higher than an 8. And she was like, oh, yeah, no, he's clearly an 8. But she said that her and her husband are like, best friends. Shout out to Third King, one of my mutuals. He got a shout out on one of his questions was asked on the thing, and it was about Annemarie. So shouts out to him. He really has good takes if you are into like just listening to people's opinions on Twitter or X. He has really good takes. So check him out. She talks about like the negative feedback that she's received. She said, negative feedback isn't that hard to like hear. But she was like, she's definitely has been like internalizing it. And then that's when they talk about like her mom. So we find out that her mom was coughing really bad one day, and she explained to her mom that she should go to the doctor. And that's when they found out that she had like, I think a pretty big tumor in her lungs. And then she ended up passing away, unfortunately. We also find out that her mom is Asian. So I thought maybe Annemarie was like biracial, like she was white, black, and Asian. But people online were clarifying, saying that no, she is biracial, she's black and white, but she was adopted by an Asian family. And I was just like, that's an experience that we have never seen before. Why didn't you talk about that? I mean, like, I get it, your mom was dying, that's a hard thing, but like talking about that experience versus Sutton's esophagus would have been so much better. So then they talk about Sutton's esophagus and like the whole situation. And Annemarie ends up saying that Crystal was a lot cooler off camera than on camera. Like she switched up. And I can kind of see that with Crystal. They then start talking about the nurses versus doctors, where Crystal was like, you said you were a doctor. And Annemarie was like, I never said that. I said I was a nurse anesthetist. I was an anesthetist. And like some people get it confused. Some of the ladies on the panel, not on the panel, but on the stage were confused as well. And pretty much Annemarie ends up explaining like that there's beef between doctors, which we know that there is doctors and nurses. And she was like, it's kind of like a turf war because they do the same thing, which is not the same thing, bro. Like, you do administrative care after someone is sedated. You might get the drugs together for them, and then but the doctor's the one that's administering it, or like, so like you are supposed to be like the checks and balances of the doctor. You're not doing all like, and I think that's the issue I have with Annemarie. Like, I'm not discrediting. My bad, y'all. Throat starting to get sore, but I'm not discrediting doctors or nurses. Well, I'm not discrediting nurses, but what I'm trying to say is it's not the same thing. Y'all didn't go to school the same amount of time. Y'all don't have to do the same amount of hours or externships or things of that nature or fellowships. So I feel like trying to overstate the importance of what nurses do, I think diminishes what they actually do, because then people try to downplay it because they feel like you're trying to over exaggerate what they do. She ends up apologizing to Sutton, where she pretty much says like, I didn't like the way I came off, and I'm genuinely sorry for that, and I never said you had an eating disorder. You didn't say she had an eating disorder, but you insinuated it by saying like, is she eating that way because like, throwing up causes like tears down the tissue in your throat, a possible eating disorder. Like, you put it out there. And when you're on TV, there's certain things you can't say because it will be taken a certain way, or you kind of know that it will be taken a certain way. You know what I mean? get off the Annemarie segment because Annemarie and Crystal start going at it, and pretty much Annemarie feels like Crystal is like trying her. She also feels like Crystal wanted to like really argue with her, but Annemarie was like, "I'm not arguing. I'm not yelling over you." But I'm like, Annemarie, sis, it's the reunion. Like, if you got the Yale like Simone from Married to Medicine, girl, Yale, you got to get your point across. Like it's time to show up. You got to get your point across. So then they get on Crystal. They talk about her bouts with her eating disorder, and I've heard a lot of people say that even if you're not actively participating in like being bulimic or being anorexic, it changes the way you view food. So like it's a constant battle. Like your mind is like is altered, so you look at food very differently. And so she was just talking about how like it was hard like being around the ladies because a lot of them were getting so skinny. They also talk about when she called Annemarie a bitch, and she said the only reason I got that way is because she said that I said that lady had an eating disorder, and I would never accuse anybody of that because of my own bouts. And then Annemarie is like, why would I lie about that? And then that's when Crystal and Annemarie start going back and forth saying that they're both liars. Like, pretty much to me, like I said, I feel like neither one of them have a good representation of what the like relationship with the truth, because Crystal plays semantics with the truth. Like when Annemarie brought up, like, you made everybody think something was a racist, and then when we asked you about it, it's how you felt. Even when you talked about the whole violating thing, you made the situation seem so much dark and egregious and made it really bad. But then when we really pressed you about it, it was how you felt. So Annemarie wasn't lying about that. You play games with the truth too, Crystal. And then the 14 friends thing, like, there's been rumblings about you too, because they both end up saying like off camera they were a lot cooler. So what changed? Like, did Annemarie change or did you change, Crystal? So it's just, to me, two liars or two people who lie or two people who have a funny history with the truth arguing with each other. They then start talking about the child bride comment and the comment about like the education. And Crystal says she wasn't taken back about the education thing because of the Dorit's child bride comment. And Dorit pretty much said that she thinks she's the only one on the stage that has a college degree. And everybody was like, no, you're not. So I guess, and we know Annemarie got a college degree because she's a nurse, so she had to get a go to school for 4 or 6 years. And then Crystal ends up letting us know that before she even married Rob, because she married Rob at 24, she had already graduated from college, which is true. That is around the time, like, most people graduate college when they're like 22 or 23. Really, undergrad, you normally graduate undergrad when you're like 22, between 22 and 24, especially if you have to take another set of classes or things happen. So she was like, I had already graduated. And then she also has that coconut water line where she says my company is worth $100 million. Like, what are you talking about? And that is true because a lot of people online have said that she is ranked the second highest coconut water line that's being bought, compared to that other brand. I don't like coconut water, so I don't know. I didn't know she sold it. It tastes gross to me. The only time I want coconut water is if it's in like a smoothie or like a shake. But when people be drinking it by itself, ugh, don't know how you do it. But Crystal's whole thing was like the child bride comment was racially insensitive on Dorit's part, because she was like, as an Asian woman, like, that is close to like mail order bride. I got what Dorit was saying when she said child bride, but I think because Dorit is already in hot water with one community, it's kind of like you put your foot in your mouth with the other. But Dorit said, that's not what I meant, and I take that back. Like, that is not what I meant, and I take that back. So they then moved on to Kyle's segment. They talk about Morgan, they talk about Mo, they talk about Lorraine. Andy asked her about how she's dealing with her grief with the passing of Lorraine. And she said, some days she's good, some days she doesn't want to get out of bed. And that's true. Grief is not like linear. It goes in cycles at times. Sometimes it's all over the place. So like she says, you have good days, you have bad days. She then starts talking about her situation with Kathy, and they start getting back on Dorit. So what it seems like is Kyle is mad at Dorit for what happened at season 12 reunion. She feels like Dorit was saying different things to her in her face, but then when they got to the reunion, it seemed like Dorit was trying to have Kathy's back. And they showed the scene where Dorit was telling Kyle, I think she just wants you to own some of your part in the breakdown of y'all relationship. And Kyle told Dorit, I don't want you in this. And so but I feel like that's not fair. You ain't That's your sister. Like nobody That's why nobody said nothing. Kyle wanted everybody to like have her back against her sister when it's like that is your sister, and at the end of the day, if you're not going to cut off all and total communication with her, there's always a chance you're going to reconcile with her. So why would your friends get in between that? Because you want them to advocate for you on your behalf and really give it to your sister, but then next thing you know, a month or a year later, you and your sister are good, and now your friendship is not good with your friend because you don't like the way they came at your sister. Girl, what? And you're a grown woman. Kyle, you're damn near 60. Like, you should have told your sister what was up. Like, and I don't feel like you can really attribute the issues in your relationship with Dorit to what happened in Aspen. And it seemed like Dorit just wanted y'all to work on y'all's relationship, because then Kyle brings up how Dorit pretty much would be on her side. And Dorit was like, when you would tell me stories about what y'all went through or what she had did to you, of course I'm going to be on your side. You're telling me a story. Like, yeah, I thought that was stupid. But then now Kyle's whole thing is she felt like Dorit was switching up because of the audience. And Dorit was like, no, but I'm not gonna lie, Dorit. People didn't like you before because you were that girl before. I'm not gonna lie. You were fun to watch before. Now it does kind of seem like you have tapered who you are for the audience. But I don't agree with Kyle saying that you switched up on her for the reunion. I really do feel like Dorit wanted you and your sister to like. I think Dorit really wanted Kyle and Kathy to come to some agreement. So she was trying to get Kyle to see, like, hey, your sister just wants you to take accountability for some things, and you're not doing what a friend is supposed to do that knows you want to reconcile with your sister. But that's how the part one ended. So hopefully I'll catch you guys in part two. Yeah, y'all, that is it. That is all. Remember to be bravely authentic and drop down in them comments below.